All right, you've made it to video 4. I have no idea how you ended up here, but thank you for joining us. So, to give you an intro to what we're doing here today, the fourth topic that I think we want to cover is, because we've covered in the second video, we covered, the 5 signs that you know you need to leave your job. And then in the last video, which was video number 3, we covered how to understand your own personal risk tolerance so that you could identify what the next best step could be for you. To continue that theme of like progressing forward, the next step is really kind of identifying what it is what you might want to do. And if you're like me, I don't know if that's true actually. I knew I needed to leave what I was doing. I knew that I had reached a point where I could no longer do it. I had done it for a long time. I had worked it the most I could work it. And I had reached a point where I kind of just hit a wall with it. Over, previous years up until that point, I had a lot of different ideas about what I might want to do, but I didn't really have a clear framework to figure out what would make sense. And so what ends up happening is you just get kind of overwhelmed, or maybe there's like a fear of missing out. I think for me, there was always like, oh, but I want to do this, and I want to do this. And I think in a previous video, I mentioned that I wanted to be a flower farmer. There's like a million different things that I thought I wanted to go and do. And I think there's still room for a lot of that in your life. It just doesn't have to be what you build a career or a vocation out of. So there are 6 questions that I think you can ask yourself today about your current situation that will help you make the decision, or make a decision that will help you start building out your plan to move from what you're doing now to what you want to be doing in the future. So the first question you kind of need to ask yourself is, of what I am doing today, what are the tasks and responsibilities that I have currently or I have done in the past that I really enjoy? Because the goal is actually to do more of what you like doing and less of what you don't. And so if you can take an assessment now and be like, oh, I like this sort of, I like to be organized, or I like to run a team. Like, these are things to take note of now. Write them down if you have a journal. Go ahead, write them down in your journal or wherever you're keeping notes, and just kind of put them on paper. What we're really kind of doing is we're building a filter for which your future opportunities will be looked at through, and then you'll see what kind of makes the most sense based on that. So for me in this situation, I like to organize a lot of information. I like to build curriculums. It sounds weird to say that because I was never a teacher, but I had to teach a lot of people about what my job was, and I had to explain it in a way that was relevant to them. So I had to kind of build training packages. I also, in one of my previous jobs, ran a team of people that needed to be trained in the functions, and I built training to support that. So I like doing that sort of thing. I like doing what I'm currently doing, while the YouTube format is new to me. The content of it and building it is actually super interesting to me. What else do I like to do? I like working with people. I don't like being responsible for large groups of people. So, because I've done that before, and now I know that that's not something that I'm down with in the future. Okay, so then the second question is, what kinds of problems do you like solving? Problems I like to solve are people problems. Not people that are problems, but problems built around life. Makes sense? That's what I'm currently doing, that I would end up in this situation. So the third type of question that you want to ask yourself are, what are the conditions that allow you to thrive when you're doing your work? This is a very simple question, and I don't think we ask it enough, but what we're talking about here is, like, do you like to work in an open office setting? Or do you like to work at home in a quiet space? Or do you like to work outside? Do you like to be out and mingling with people? Like, I think a lot of sales jobs actually give people that opportunity. Whereas an office job, if you're sitting on a Zoom call all day, or in a cubicle, or at your home, and you're not a home person, like, some people actually enjoy being in the office. This is not me. I cannot relate to these people in this way. But knowing what conditions allow you to thrive and will allow you to make, a more obvious distinction for the next move that you make, because there are just going to be some things that you're like, oh, I would really love to do that, but I can't do it in that environment, and it's going to be not a deal breaker, but it's definitely going to move it down on the list. So the fourth question I want you to ask yourself is, when was the last time you felt truly engaged in what you were doing? And that can be in the past, and it can also be in a volunteer capacity or an outside of your corporate experience situation. And then what specifically were you doing when you were performing that, when you were in that environment or doing that thing? For me, I go back to the last time I was truly engaged was actually a couple of years ago in my role. I actually moved out of that role, but that was a really challenging role with a really interesting group of people, and it was the role where I was performing a lot of training with people, and I liked it because it allowed me to work with the individual toward a greater goal, and allowed me to help them figure out how they fit into the scheme of things. So that's that people thing. That's that having an objective in mind, a known objective in mind, because we were really trying to stand up an organization at the time. And what I really enjoyed about that was the training part of it, and building the training to support those people based on the way they needed to learn the information that we needed them to get proficient at really quickly. So, but that was years ago. And so that's why I want you to look, it was 4 years ago. So that's why I want you to think about this in terms of like, when did you feel truly engaged? And if that was last week, that's fantastic. But for some of us, it's been a while. So just go ahead and ask yourself that question and take note of that. And then 5, what are the types of projects that drain you versus motivate you? For me, I can say that this question rules out it doesn't rule it out necessarily, but what it does, it highlights for me that I do not like large group projects. I knew this back in college. I didn't realize how big of a role group projects would play in my corporate existence, because the job that I signed up for originally was very much like my statement of work, my package to manage. That was all me. But, the cross-functional requirements of my job ended up growing. So I prefer to work in a team of like 5 to 6 people. I have often been in teams of 40 people that all had individual parts. And what I found from that was that is not conducive to me being productive. I don't know that it was conducive to anyone being productive, to be perfectly honest with you. But I also know that in the future, like, I'm not doing teams of 40 again. 40 in a broad audience dynamic is different than 40 people being individual contributors towards one objective, unless that it's clearly defined. That's a personal thing. Like, I'm an introvert. That drains me. Like, to be in a room full of people all trying to contribute with, in my opinion, less than optimal organization involved. Not all organizations are like that. That was the role that I was in at the organization that I was in. And maybe in a different situation, I would feel different about that. I generally think that I've worked long enough to understand that that's just not a thing that I do well in. And I, at the end of the day, could feel it in my body that I was completely drained from those dynamics. A dynamic that helps me thrive is a one-on-one dynamic. What do you like to do? And then the 6th question I want you to ask are, what are the values and the lifestyle goals that you want to be factored into the next chapter of your life? So for me, this was time freedom and a respect for the work and life separation. That's not the same thing as work-life balance. So we can get into that in a different topic, because I think that a lot of people have thoughts about that. But for me, I wanted to have very clear lines of, this is my work and this is my personal life. And time freedom above all else, once my basic financial needs were met, was the goal and the priority for me going forward, because my lifestyle goal in a greater timeline is that I want to be able to work, in different places of the world for a different period of time. Not a full digital nomad, but I want to have that flexibility to be able to do that. And that's longer term that I'm looking at that. But for you, that's what you need to ask yourself too, is like, okay, well, what do I want to carry forward? It could be as simple as like, I want to work for people that I believe in, or I want to work for a company that demonstrates the same values as me. So if you've worked in corporate America and it just doesn't align with maybe your spiritual values, that's something that you can leave behind, and you know that in the future you want to be working with or for people that align with that aspect of your life. Okay, so those are 6 questions that I want you to go ahead and think about and for me, I write these down in a journal. I think these are great journal prompts to work through on your own. Again, this is all kind of self-work, so you don't really have to share this with anyone. If you want to drop what you're willing to leave behind in the comments or what you're really excited to bring forward in your future, I'd love to read those. I will read all of the comments. And since I keep forgetting to introduce myself, the whole point of these videos is I created Desk to Dream to help share what I've learned along on my journey to move from my desk job. And I really just want to share the resources and the thought processes and the decisions that I had to make along the way to help you do the same thing. I think there's a lot of us out there that are looking for what's next, knowing that we need to work for the next 15 to 20 years, and we all want to do work that matters to us most. So I just want to help people find it. And if you have any questions, I did create a freebie linked in the description below. It's called the Career Clarity Compass. It just kind of walks through some of these exercises. They're a little different than these ones, but it's the same idea. And hopefully you might find that exercise helpful for you. The next video that we're going to do is... Let's just see real quick. The next video that we're going to focus on is how to identify your transferable skills. And that will be video number 5 in the series of the initial 8 series. So thank you again for joining. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope that you are enjoying the journey. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.